That's a lovely little track there. Nick is in the studio, and I just have to change the microphones for him. But I'd like to say before you can speak, Nick, thank you for the tracks today. They're marvellous. So I'm going to change tracks. So we've got Kate Herbert. Kate is in the hot seat, and Kate is going to tell us all about the things that she's been doing. I need to find that. Where's the centre mic? I'm going to find another little, put a little novation on.
You want two, don't you?
I'm here, and I'm here. Welcome to me. Yes, I'm here. And Nick's going to be here talking with me too and interrogating me about my ideas. But I'll just tell you, Philippa, that what I'm going to do this week for a bit of novelty is, rather than talk about plays and shows that I've seen and reviews, talk about something related and something actors can do that I've been doing myself this week, well, the last few weeks, and in fact the last few years, which is being an actor in training for community workers. I'll give you a list of the kinds of areas that I'm doing, but we as actors go in. So this is with my other hat, my other hat. Go in to courses where people are doing their assessments for the end of semester, which is this last couple of weeks, and play characters for them to do simulations of working with a client or a patient. So, for example, Nick, we shall start with, what did I do this week? Aged care. I was an 89-year-old woman in a wheelchair. There's a whole backstory for this woman, and it's all written into the assessment for the students who are studying aged care, to be aged care workers. And I've done her in different stages of her ageing. So the first, when she's just unable to get out of the chair and she's feeling a bit dejected, and the second simulation for the later, I think, diploma students, or the later, it's called Simulation 2, she's suffering some dementia and various other things. So we get a brief. There are two other guys doing their characters in different rooms, and one of those is a guy who's terribly distressed. He's Italian background and terribly distressed, and another who is bedridden. We go to palliative care in the second simulation, which could, if you get a really difficult one, it is. Mine wasn't so confronting because hers is sort of an early dementia, but others are doing things. Well, one is completely unconscious, and his wife is sitting beside him as the elderly person who's being dealt with. So it is an acting event of 8 minutes duration.
So how do you prepare for that?
Fortunately for me, I've spent, as you may remember, most of my performance life doing improvisation, and in fact my master's at the VCA was in improvisation. That's a whole other story.
Now let's just pull that back a sec. What is improvisation? Because people probably just think, oh, you're getting up and just making things up.
Well, when I've done that in the past, it is essentially getting up and making things up.
There's a lot more behind it.
There's a lot of technique behind it. So I can improvise from nothing. I can look at the wall and go, there's a PowerPoint, I'll do a scene about a PowerPoint because I'm looking at it. When I'm training students.
You may be lucky enough to get that.
Yes. But generally, in this instance, we have a scenario. So imagine it's a short outline of what's going to happen between two people. Let's forget the scenario of the training for aged care. So I set up a scenario for you, which is you're, let's say a really basic one I might do with a student. You're an employer and I'm coming in for a job in a retail position and I have no experience. So I might give the students those two things, and you as an employer are the owner of the business and you're selling clothes that are from designers. Let's say that's our scenario. You've got some information, but then, as you say, there's technique, as there is in improvising in music and piano, any other kind of improvisation. Because people can walk and talk, there's often an assumption that they can also act. It's quite a good assumption with improvisation because that's what you need to do. Walk, talk, think, listen, react. And I said that to the care workers. What you're doing is pretty much what I'm doing, which is I'm listening to you and I'm responding to what you say. And if you don't listen to me and don't respond to what I'm saying as the old person, you're not doing the job that you're here to do. I'm doing my job. Sometimes with these young people, not all young people, with these trainees, I'm having to cue them where to go because they're getting lost. They've when I'm going, what? Can't hear you. I can speak up.
It's a real situation. I mean, this is where I think there's some magic involved. When you go into improvising things, and it's like employee interview training and things like that.
Yes.
You have to.
I'll give you some specifics.
You have to get some. You have to be able to respond spontaneously, and people aren't good at that. They stop.
Because look, I'll tell you one. Sorry to interrupt you there, but I'll give you the as you said. There are techniques. When I'm teaching people to improvise, I start from really step by step, basic, building blocks. I say we're going to learn how to make an offer, and the offer is, "Hi Nick, I love that new jacket you're wearing." So I've given you the offer of he's called Nick. He's come in. He's wearing a new jacket, and the response, I often say to them, accept. Really over-accept. Yes, I am wearing a new jacket and I bought it in Paris on my trip. So you've accepted my offer and you've then made your own offer by saying I've been to Paris.
Sounds like excellent communication anyway, 101,
Absolutely.
isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. Listen, respond, add. Say it's yes and, improvisers say. Yes and, not yes but.
No buts,
yes. And.
No, we cut but out of our language altogether, yes.
Absolutely. So that's a basic.
Doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And the other thing that I teach people, new improvisers, old improvisers too, do what we call a block. So I'll say, hi Nick, I love the new jacket you're wearing. That's not a jacket, it's a frock. That's a block. Mm-hmm. Rhymes with frock. It says no, and that's a complete stop. But a good improviser will then save it by saying, yes, but it's a long jacket, so it looks like a frock and it suits you really well.
What are you doing wearing a jacket that looks like a frock?
Yes, yeah. And then you get the bad improviser on the other end blocks you again, and then you're kind of in trouble because you can't save forever. But you can end up with an absurd kind of comic scene if someone's blocking and blocking.
But to me, it just sounds like good communication.
Yes,
and learning. And so.
Well, you would find that in teaching.
Yeah,
you've got
absolutely.
to keep responding. Everything that a student says is an offer.
Yeah,
and you've got to come back with it.
But if you
unpack them,
if you put people in a situation of pressure, such as performance, presenting even to a small group in a class as an improviser, or in these instances with these students, they've got things in their heads, a list of things they want to get done. They've got to say this. They've got to say this, this, and this. They're not listening. What they're doing, I always say, your first idea is your best idea. That's a common thing with improvisers. But the problem with people who are worrying is the idea they're having is, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do, I don't have an idea.
So they're just listening to themselves, not listening to the people.
They've got an idea, but it's not a helpful idea. Yeah. You get in your own way.
I'm going to put a little track on, and then we'll come back and talk. Speaking of Sister Kate's back.
Kate's shimmying here in her
that's
chair.
Our theme song from now on. Now, Kate, you've been working actually as acting as a patient or a person in need.
Yeah, client or patient, depends on the cause. Yeah, so as I said, there was the very old woman in the aged care, and there's different levels, points in their deterioration, I suppose, in their health. I've also done really fun disability work, working with disability workers, and playing a woman in her late 30s who just loves baking. So she's not very good at it because she keeps forgetting the timer, but they're organising cooking classes for her. So it's someone who's not very verbal and gets anxious, etc. But that was really fun.
So it's not always about language.
No, because I had to find, in fact, they kept telling me telling the character different recipes. And I remember one of them, I said, what's that? Tzatziki it was. And I said, I mean, really, to try and get someone who doesn't have very good language to say tzatziki, you got to think. I said to them later, you need to think laterally about what you're saying to someone like this character. But I think the important thing is, as I was saying, that they need to have their list of things their targets, their things they have to hit for assessment, just in terms of this 8 minutes of simulation in the workplace. But they need to really listen and find ways to hear what the person's saying and bring it back to, what is your need? What do you need at the moment? Are you in any pain? When we get to community support workers, that was something I did yesterday, it's an individual who might be, this woman was in full-time work, she was an immigrant been in
This is the
Australia
character
15.
you were
The
playing,
character
yeah.
been in the country for 15 years, and she's being interviewed or spoken to by 2 workers, just for the sake of the assessment. They're support workers. They can't, like the aged care workers, they can't actually give you any medical help. These people, the community support workers, can refer her to housing people or financial advisors. They're really the first point. And it's nerve-wracking for them, because the idea, the problem is with improvisers, they worry they don't have an idea, and then their idea is, I don't have an idea, or I don't know what to say, or I don't know what else I can do. Yesterday I was doing youth workers working in residential care, and these people, some of them have been working for years in residential care, and they need this qualification. So they're working as support workers with kids, and you have all sorts of issues where kids are coming from very, very difficult and troubled families, or they've been taken away from a grandmother, etc. And that was my scenario with a group. The child, I was the granny, and there's the support worker from the school and the learner. So look, it really varies, but it's really fun, and it's so important for the students to have that real simulated environment experience.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks very much, Kate.